All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. I don't have time to beat about the bush. Batman and DC fandom is going on, and I cover that content on my other channel. So today's kind of a special day for that kind of stuff. So Justice League game is about to be revealed in a few hours. But I wanted to update the Marvel Avengers folk about the PC performance of Marvel's Avengers and basically what my conclusions are. So some of this footage is going to basically hurt your eye, but that's the best way I could take it. We were away from home, so I decided to test it on my laptop, my gaming laptop, like I promised somebody I was on my Marvel Avengers stream, I think the closed beta. And I was able to notice a very huge improvement in the game's performance. I'm not saying that the game's performance is actually much, now at the best possible place it could be. What I'm saying is it has improved from where it was to where it is right now on the current open beta build, date August 22nd, 2020. So that's what you should quote me as, okay? Don't go quoting me saying that the game is awesome and everything, because some people are still having issues. Now, this gaming laptop is an Acer Predator. It's got a GTX 1060. It's the mobile version. It's got, just your RAM and all that stuff. And it's got an i7. It's a pretty decent computer to have, but I don't game on it much. But because some people have been asking about 1050s and some other stuff, I thought maybe this might be the computer that equates to the 1050 and some of the other 2 or 3 gigs graphics cards and all that good stuff. And I just want to say that what I was able to figure out, and I appreciate my wife for holding my iPhone to capture this very beautiful, glamorous footage that you're seeing here, is that I was able to lock into about 40 frames per second average. Yes, there were times this thing descended into the 25 FPS territory, which was like, oh, this is terrible. But on the bright side, it really did perform well and surpassed my expectations. In fact, I was convinced before I even powered it on that the game was even going to run. And for those of you who don't know, I think there was an NVIDIA driver for August the 17th that has just been released. So don't quote me on the AMD side regarding graphics cards. All I have for you guys regarding the AMD side is on my AMD processor. And it's one of those things where you don't want to give this kind of information out because not everybody might be gaming on that kind of processor and that kind of graphics card. So I'm going to call this laptop kind of a low-end spec or mid-range. I can't call it mid-range because it doesn't play Tom Clancy's The Division on anything more than like 24, 25 frames per second. So I can't even call it like mid-range, if you get what I mean. And games vary so much, so I'll call it low-end. And then I'll call mine on like a decent, not high-end. I use a Ryzen 9. I think it's a 3700 or whatever it is. I don't care. It's my production computer, but I thought it's the computer that I can test it on the highest possible settings, and I was able to get 100 FPS at least. In many cases, nothing less than 70 frames per second when I got frame drops. Now, here is the issue. The graphics card in there is a 1080 Ti. Some people have said that they have 2080 Ti's and it's not running well for them. Now, the amount of work that my chip and graphics card were doing, I wasn't able to even evaluate in any sense because I'm not Video Game Foundry. Okay, if you guys want to Digital Foundry, sorry, if you guys want to see all the technical stuff, I would recommend you go there. But because a lot of people have been asking me, I'm just trying to do my possible best. I was able to get 100 frames per second, in some cases 100 plus frames per second. And what I would say the bad news about all of this is the frame drops don't really, give you a lot of confidence, even on the high end. I mean, if you're dropping, some cases I was getting 120 and then it will go all the way down to 84. So, I mean, from 120 to 84, I mean, come on, that's a 40 frame drop. Now, if you were playing on a mid-range and you had a 40 frame drop, that might be the difference of 60 FPS to 20 FPS or 25 FPS. I don't know how these things work, but that's the experience we got on the last beta before they patched it up and cleaned it. So all of this stuff really varies. And another thing too is because of the workload, sometimes I can game on this my production computer and record at the same time. I record, Tom Clancy's Division videos, which I use Tom Clancy's The Division because that is a heavy tasking game. But this game crashed that setup. It does have 16 gigs of RAM. It doesn't have 32 gigs like some people's computers would do for their, production rigs. And the reason it doesn't have 32 gigs is because I've not been paying attention. I was supposed to add another 32 gigs of memory, another 16 gigs of memory, but I just forgot until this game came out and started to kick my equipment in the butt because of how poorly optimized it's been. So I guess we need to keep this conversation going and we need to keep an eye out. But I will say though, from what I've seen on this rig, I've been able to capture at least 100 FPS. Now, I do have what I call mid-ish low-end range gig that I game on. I practically game on that computer much more. And that computer has a GTX 1070. It's got an i7 4790, not the K. It's DDR3, 16 gigs of RAM. And that was able to bring a very, very steady 60 frames per second on average. It will go high, it will spike, but it never dropped past the 60 frames per second. And all the settings on both these rigs were on high. On the laptop, I think I may have been on low settings at that point. And if it's anything different, I'll let you know. I got to go pop it up and check it out. I was having to do this, while we had time to visit some family. And I was like, let me just check this stuff out and have this footage for, the people who are inquiring about this stuff. So from what I'm seeing, the game still requires just a little bit more tuning in order to get it to where it needs to be to convince me to be able to go and say, okay, let's get this game on PC. Because I would really love to get the game on a PC because, it would be really cool to have that graphics fidelity. I mean, when the game was popping on 80, 90 frames per second, 100 frames per second, man, I'm telling you, it was looking really scrumptious. I mean, the game just looked beautiful. The way your players fight. I mean, y'all know what I'm talking about, PC players. And so that's pretty much, what I wanted to kind of share with you guys. I really got to go. I'm a DC fan, but one of the good things about comics is even though you may be a fan on one side, you got to be able to tip the hat to the other side. And this is the Marvel side is where my kids are, and so I'm not gonna ruin it for them. That's got to represent and still also take care of all kinds of other things as well. So that's it for me. Let me hear your thoughts in the comment section. If you're getting any success in maintaining performance, kind of share your settings with us as well. My settings are all on high. I turn off motion blur from my my game modes in some cases. Some cases I don't turn it off. I don't think it really affects a lot of the GPU performance anyways, but I would say if you're having issues, that's where I think you need to start from. So sorry for the trashy footage. It was taken on an iPhone because that is, I mean, there's no way I'm going to record the footage directly from this, computer from these setups while playing this game, because this game just doesn't have a good performance arch right now. So I'll get out of your hair. Thank you once again. Peace.